If you want to learn how to think like a leader, you have to understand the difference in merit and mercy. I want to introduce a new word to those who maybe English is not your first language, and that is most of the people watching this video around the world. And the word is meritocracy. Yes, meritocracy. And the suffix ocracy, like democracy, that ocracy part means rule or govern. So democracy, dem in Latin is people. So democracy is people rule, people govern. So meritocracy, a meritocracy means merit rules. You earn it, you deserve it. And so we want to think like a leader, like a spiritual leader, like a biblical leader, like a Christian leader. We need to be clear about merit versus mercy. And we have a text I want to read, and I want you to read it with those lenses. But first, let me explain what the word meritocracy in America is often and more commonly used as a sports reference. And so people will say the NBA is the ultimate meritocracy. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, rich or poor, educated or not. If you can score or stop someone from scoring, you merit a roster spot on an NBA team and millions of dollars. There's a big controversy today because on a certain team with a certain very famous player who is one of the greatest ever, there's a big debate now because his son was drafted and paid millions of dollars and given a roster spot. And there are a lot of people saying that ruined the meritocracy. There were others who merited by their skill set or their basketball prowess that were more deserving of a roster spot, but it was given to because of a relationship with someone else, and that is the opposite of meritocracy. And so that debate is going on. I'll not enter into that debate, but that it's happening. This is a meritocracy, so this should not happen. So I want you to think about meritocracy in light of spiritual leadership, in light of Christianity, in light of our faith. And we have to think right about this. we're going to read 12 verses in Psalm 143. And I want you to put on the lens of meritocracy. Where does that fit in Christian leadership and thinking like a leader? Here we go. It's a Psalm of David, Psalm 143, beginning in verse 1. Hear my prayer, O Lord. Give ear to my pleas for mercy. In your faithfulness, answer me in your righteousness. Enter not into judgment with your servant, for no one living is righteous before you. For the enemy has pursued my soul. He has crushed my life to the ground. He has made me sit in darkness like those long dead. Therefore my spirit faints within me. My heart within me is appalled. I remember the days of old. I meditate on all that you have done. I ponder the works of your hands. I stretch out my hands to you. My soul thirsts for you like a parched land. Answer me quickly, O Lord. My spirit fails. Hide not your face from me, lest I be like those who go down to the pit. Let me hear in the morning of your steadfast love, for in you I trust. Make me know the way I should go, for to you I lift up my soul. Deliver me from my enemies, O Lord. I have fled to you for refuge. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. Let your good spirit lead me on level ground. For your name's sake, O Lord, preserve my life. In your righteousness, bring my soul out of trouble. And in your steadfast love, you will cut off my enemies, and you will destroy all the adversaries of my soul, for I am your servant. Now, if you read this passage, these 12 lines of Psalms with a lens of a meritocracy, we'll see that how David thought and where that fit in. Now, in this passage, there are 10 requests, 10 things David is asking of God, 10 prayers he's asking. I guess the real question is prayer a meritocracy? Do we merit standing before God? Do we do something that somehow makes God more apt to answer our prayers because of who we are and what we do? Here are the 10 requests he makes. He says, enter not into judgment. That's a request of God. Don't judge me. And then he goes down to verse 7. Answer me quickly. Don't hide your face from me. Let me hear you in the morning. Hear your voice. Let me know your ways. Those are in verse 8. Verse 9, deliver me from my enemies. Verse 10, teach me to know your ways. Do your will. Verse 10, may your Spirit lead me. And then he says, preserve my life, bring my soul out of trouble. 10 requests in 12 verses. This is a prayer. He's asking God for these 10 things. But if we go to verse 1, we'll see what this is all based on. The whole possibility of these prayers being heard by God and being answered, they're all based on verse 1. And here's what he says. Give ear to my plea for mercy. In your faithfulness, answer me. In your righteousness. David was not anchoring his prayers in his own worthiness, in his own faithfulness, or in his own righteousness. He acknowledged in verse 2 that he was not worthy, not righteous, not faithful. He was unworthy, unrighteous, unfaithful. And yet he goes in his unrighteousness, unworthiness, unfaithfulness, and asks God for bullet point, 10 specific and powerful and important prayers, specific asks of God, even though he was not worthy or faithful or righteous. So is prayer a meritocracy? Is our faith a meritocracy? I would say no. His beginning was a plea for mercy. That's why I say it's a mercyocracy. I don't think that's a word. I just made it up. So it's a word now. Mercyocracy. But do we approach God as if we've merited something before Him? Do we approach Him with our own worthiness, with our own faithfulness, with our own righteousness? If we come before God because we think we have done something to make ourselves worthy, or we think that it's all based on how faithful we are or how righteous we are, then we're missing the whole point. David came in acknowledging he had none of that. It was all throwing himself at the mercy of God. So if you want to think like a leader, you want to think like a spiritual leader, you want to think like a mission leader, like a campus ministry leader, like a local church leader, you want to think like an apostolic leader, like an evangelistic leader, you want to think like a biblical leader, you got to get meritocracy out of your mind. And we've got to lean on the mercy of God. Our prayer request, our coming before Him is all rooted and anchored in the mercy of God, in the faithfulness of God, and the righteousness of God.